Hey there, thanks for clicking on this video. You can call me Kay, and this is opinions and not facts. And today I'm going to talk to you about my opinions on the whole tradwife discussion, specifically from the point of view of a video that I saw by someone called EmilySavesAmerica. It's an Instagram reel that I saw that's just been sitting in my brain, knocking around, and I feel like I have comments. So I'm going to play you the video real quick and then we'll talk about it. This video has been clunking around in my brain for a couple of days, and specifically because it kind of made me mad. I felt really frustrated and irritated hearing this video. I don't know, and it just bothered me, rubbed me the wrong way, some of the things that were being said and some of the really unhelpful ways that Emily chose to talk about this issue that I think is worth talking about. And so my goal today is to have a better conversation and a better discussion about the whole tradwife thing and towards women who are interested in being a tradwife in a way that makes everyone healthier and stops creating divisive nonsense the way I feel like Emily's video did. So the first thing I want to talk about is my perspective on the tradwife thing. And this is going to be very opinion based. It's not going to have a whole ton of evidence, but I'm just going to talk about it to the best of my ability. To be clear, I have been on both sides of the argument. I, as a young person, wanted to be really independent and capable and kick butt and girl boss my way to the sun. And in my later years now, me and my husband are happily married. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to homeschool our kids. I want to have a hobby farm. And I wish I had time for sourdough. I have been on both sides of this, and what I can tell you is that for me, the idea of being a tradwife and that aesthetic is a little bit goofy. What doesn't really matter to me and what I don't think should matter to people is whether it's traditional. It should matter if it fits the lifestyle and the goals set out for you and your husband and your family. In the end, you're trying to create the best life you can lead for your family, whether it's you and your husband, whether it's you, your husband and kids. It's about creating the lifestyle that is best for your family. And I think a lot of times the best lifestyle often includes a mother present and at home in the house. And I think there's so much value added to life when mothers take the time to educate themselves on nutrition and provide healthy foods for their family, like choosing to home bake bread instead of going to the grocery store, or choosing to homeschool their kids where they can provide individualized learning and education to better that child instead of outsourcing it to a one-size-fits-all education system. There's all sorts of ways that I think is healthier for women and happier for a lot of women in taking a more quote-unquote traditional route. But I also know that women are a diverse group of people, and there's a lot of different variables involved, such as being able to afford being at home, being able to sustain some of the more expensive aspects of that lifestyle. And I think what we lose in this sort of tradwife aesthetic as it becomes more and more kind of, for lack of a better term, bastardized, is we're no longer thinking about going back to the roots of why we did things and doing things that feel more natural to us. And instead we're trying to sort of force an ideal. And it's not a very realistic ideal all the time. It is an expensive world out there, and our system is now built on a 2-income household. It is hard to break that mold and survive. And it's okay to realize that to provide what you want to provide for your family and to meet the goals you and your husband have set out for your family, you need to work a little bit, or things like that. So, to put it simply, I think that it's good for women to pursue what is natural and best for them and their households. And I think a lot of times you'll be surprised to find out that what's natural and best is something that we see as more traditional, but in reality is something which simply enables women to prioritize what comes to them best. That being said, I think it has to be choice. And I think that when you start shaming women for their choice and harassing them for their choice, you are just becoming part of a problem rather than helping women to be educated choosers. So, this is Emily's video.
I'm sorry, I hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like tradwife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stop being working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none. I would say none that's gonna work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure, because it could not be easier, if that's what you're gonna pursue, to be trapped by a man, okay? Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe. You guys are cringe, okay?
First and foremost, it really bothers me that there is such a tone of talking down to and treating women who want this lifestyle like they're stupid. I think that's so unhelpful, and I think it's a certain form of elitism. I hate to say it, but later on in the video, towards the end, you can hear Emily kind of talk about how, well, men want to be intellectually stimulated too. There's this sort of offhanded but pretty clearly communicated idea that Emily holds that women who want to take a more traditional lifestyle are less intelligent and less capable than those who choose to stay in the workforce. And Emily herself attests that she is in the workforce and intending to stay. To me, this clearly communicates that Emily holds herself in high regard. She sees herself as incredibly intelligent, and she is assuming that anyone who takes a different route or a route she doesn't understand or want is stupid. They're less intelligent than her, they're beneath her. And she acts that way. And that to me is super frustrating, because if you truly believe these women are putting themselves in vulnerable situations, why are you just making it worse? Why are you belittling them and making them resent what you have to say? That is so unhelpful. And given that she even implies that these women are endangering themselves by doing this, the fact that she pushes them away and calls them stupid seems to me like an incredibly stupid decision to do. Now, another thing that bothers me is how reduced to sourdough bread this whole conversation about traditional women's roles is, because this is, again, both the con and the promotion of it. I feel like when it's promoted as a lifestyle, it's promoted as being, oh, your wife just makes you sourdough. And in the cons, it's, oh, well, you're just making sourdough. And I think this is so unhelpful. The role of a homemaker and a house manager and a stay-at-home mom is so complex and complicated and serious. I use complex and complicated, I know, but it's such a massive role that takes so much intelligence and care and effort when it's done well. There's so many aspects to it. You can end up being a full-time nanny, you're a full-time maid, you're a full-time chef, you're a chauffeur, you're a psychiatrist, you're a therapist, a counselor. Sometimes you even have to play doctor. There's all these different roles that go into taking care of children, that go into taking care of a home well. I think that it is a full-time job in its own right when done well. And instead of teaching people to do it well, we just shame them for wanting to do it at all. And that saddens me, because I think that there's so many incredible resources and smarts and adaptabilities that these traditional living women need to have. And yet we look down on it and we belittle it and we reduce it to something as small as sourdough bread, as if there's not so much we could learn from these women. Instead, we just treat them like they're small and worthless. And that goes for both a lot of the sort of red pill men looking for a tradwife and the liberated feminist who hates the tradwife. Now, one thing Emily says that I do agree with is her advice to find a hobby and to try and make it make money. And this is not for her reasoning. I'll get to her reasoning in a moment while I don't really like it. But I do want to say I think this is good advice. Right now, sorry if you can hear my cats. Right now, our society is kind of built on a two-person income. To try and go down to a one-person income is a big adjustment. And having a small, even sort of hobby, creating a little bit more income can be a big difference. It can be the difference between living from paycheck to paycheck to being able to set aside money to pay for future doctor visits for a child, or to improve a house or invest in more land. There's nothing wrong And there's no loss of value as a woman and as a feminine person for providing income for your family. And I think that needs to be very clear. In fact, the Proverbs 31 woman is described as buying fields and producing stuff off of these fields and gratifying her family with the work of her hands and the income she brings in and the fruits of her labor. She's portrayed as like the ultimate woman, and she's doing business. And I think that's super important. Again, in the Bible as well, a lot of the people who supported Jesus' ministry while he was on earth were business women. And you didn't see God tearing them down. You didn't see Jesus preaching about how they needed to change. There was no criticism for them in the Bible for that. So you're not worth less, and you're not failing by needing to provide a measure of income. Nor is a man failing at his job as a provider and a carer for his family for needing assistance. That was the whole point of Eve's creation, was to assist in the garden. Life was not perfect for Adam until Eve was there to supplement, add to it her own labor. And so it's okay to look at your finances and find that they're incomplete without each other's help. It's also okay not to want that for yourself, to want to make space for caring for your household. And to a certain degree, if you are a loving, unified couple, your work to keep the house is as much earning the income that your husband makes out working and getting paid, because he can't go out and do his job to the degree he does without someone behind him making sure that he doesn't have to do all that extra house labor and maybe making meals and handling finances and things like that. So it should be a team effort. And either way you choose to take it should be okay. It should not be such a bad thing if you want to supplement your income a little bit by having a hobby that you make some money off of. Nor is it a bad thing to devote yourself solely to the care of your household, your kids, etc. Nor is it any great evil if you want to just go and work a full-time job. Now, the reason Emily gives why you should get a hobby that pays and why you're setting yourself up for failure is that you're likely to get trapped by a man if you don't. And this is where I have the biggest problem. And I hope I can say this well, because this is a complex issue. I'm scared of oversimplifying a very complex thing that is abuse and is being lied and entrapped in a marriage with someone who is nothing like who you thought they were. So forgive me if I don't do this well, but I'm gonna try. First things first, if you go into your marriage thinking that you need a backup plan to get out of it, are you really married? I mean, maybe legally, yes, but what kind of a commitment are you making if you need a way out or protection against the person you're marrying? Marriage is an act of vulnerability. Any relationship, any connection is an act of vulnerability, and there is no guarantee that you will not be harmed or mistreated. That's just a reality of life. If you go into marriage defending yourself against a person because they may harm you, you're not ready to be married. With that being said, there are liars and cheats out there who will trick someone and treat them horribly. But that is not a good enough reason to argue that people need to go into marriage ready to get out at the moment's notice. That does not happen enough where people are completely, utterly fooled. They do everything they should and they end up completely bamboozled by someone, to where it is healthy and normal and acceptable to tell women that they need to go into their marriage expecting to be mistreated by their husband and ready to get out at its moment's notice. There are smart things you can do before that, and if you need that backup plan, that's not a man that you should marry.
Hey there, this is Editing Me. I just quickly wanted to clarify here that I'm not trying to set women up for abusive situations or say it's just tough luck, like you have to run that risk. What I'm trying to argue here is that I think this discussion around the issue of women getting trapped in relationships and with abusive husbands should be less focused around blaming women for not expecting their husbands to be abusive and more about equipping women to go into a relationship and prepare for marriage by being more strategic about who they pick for a husband. I think by equipping women before they get in these situations, instead of kind of bashing them for getting into it afterwards, we can actually encourage healthy relationships as a whole. And I don't think it's good to promote that everyone carry this toxic mistrust into their relationship and damage all relationships because certain people and certain relationships do not go well. I would rather just teach people how to avoid those kind of peoples and understand that sometimes we have to get hurt in life. We can do our best to prevent it, and that's what we want to do, rather than just running the risk of everyone getting hurt and being so scared that it would happen that we instead completely shut down a meaningful, healthy relationship out of fear.
If you are wanting to be in a relationship where you will not be earning the income your spouse will be, here's what needs to happen beforehand. Number one, you need to trust that person before you marry them. If there is even an inkling that they could betray or hurt you, don't marry them. With that, you need to have strong, wise, loving people around you who care about you, who can be good judges of character for your future spouse. If they have a problem with them, don't marry them. With this, you should be going to marriage counseling. You should be figuring out the character of your spouse beforehand, and you should have good leaders in your life who can point out these issues and help you address them beforehand. And if you have irreconcilable differences, don't marry him. You need to look at your finances. If your intent is to be a stay-at-home, tradwife, whatever, and your husband is already talking about it like it's his money, not your combined money, probably don't marry him. This sounds really tough and really hard, and I think this is unpopular advice, but communicate these things beforehand and marry someone who has the same values as you. And don't let them be surface level values like trad wife, trad husband, provider, all these things, high value man. They need to be an inherent value in the community you create, in your marriage above all else, in the service of your spouse above all else, in the love and the laying down of your life for your spouse above all else. If you believe wholeheartedly in laying down your life for the love of your spouse, and your spouse, before they're your spouse, does not feel the same, you are unequally yoked and you will be unhappy in that relationship and it will harm you. So you need to have the same values and the same goals as your spouse. And to be clear, this is not all the nitpicky little things. You can hate Star Wars while they love Star Wars, whatever. But if you are choosing a traditional lifestyle, you guys both need to be all in, and you need to know why you're choosing that lifestyle. It needs to be for the betterment of both of you, not for the betterment or the satisfaction of one of you. And if it is uneven, if there are differences of opinion, you either need to get on the same page or you need to evaluate if it is healthy to be in that partnership to begin with. And I guarantee if we started coaching young people into these conversations and we started helping them get to the root of these value systems and see if they actually share them, there would be so much less cases of women being so-called trapped in these situations than we have now. Because right now, all women are being told is, you need to go and get a job so you don't get abused by your husband. And they recognize that that advice does not make sense and there's something wrong with it. And so they're ignoring it, but then they don't know what to do differently to fix it. So I hope this is clear advice. You need to really know your partner before you commit to them. You need to have the exact same, not exact same, but you need to have very unified values. And those values need to include working as a team completely. That means if he's the one earning the income and you are earning the ability for him to go out and make that income, you both share that income. It is both yours. You have equal access to it. If he's going out and earning and you are staying in and taking care of the house, he needs to see you with the full respect of someone who is doing equal effort to earn. And if he doesn't, you need to address that first. You guys need to communicate Share your values first. Put smart, wise, capable people in your life to help coach you through these things. And don't just go in blindly. That is going to be way more helpful than sitting here and telling women who understand their inner desire to live a lifestyle that they are wrong and stupid for wanting to live that lifestyle, and it's going to get them hurt. Because that's not a one-for-one equivalency, and they realize that, and you're not actually helping them then get away from the danger you're warning them of. Now, the last thing, I touched on it earlier, but I have such a problem with us talking about women wanting to live the traditional lifestyle, again, quote unquote traditional, because there's so much to what traditions are, and there's so many traditions, and traditions have a reason for existing, so it's more important to understand the reason than the tradition itself. But it's this whole thing of assuming that these women are less intelligent, that they don't bring something to the table that men still need, that they're just dumb, that they're choosing this because they're dumb. I think that young women who want a more traditional lifestyle are quite smart. I think they're looking at the world around them and they're realizing early on that the things that other women are running towards, like jobs, like notoriety, like success on the internet, are not making them happy. And they've realized early on that they don't want to pursue those things. They're trying to seek out their own happiness, and they think that they have found it in something like a traditional lifestyle. Now, the risk run is that this is, again, a glamorized snippet off of Instagram, the same way that all these other lifestyles have become glamorized snippets off of Instagram. And so the answer is not to tell these women they're stupid for seeing this lifestyle and falling for it. It's to understand that we are all easily suckered in by these 5-minute clips or less of this curated perfect lifestyle, and to instead encourage these women to get to the heart of what they value and figure out a life that reflects that value. I do not value tradition and living a rigid, I do value tradition. Let me rephrase that. I don't value tradition of living a rigid gendered lifestyle, but I value the ability to pour my love into my children someday and raise them to hold similar values to what I do. And my desire for my life comes out quite traditional by just circumstance, by the fact that a lot of the things that I want to do to promote those values in my life, to follow my God, to take care of my earth, to raise and nurture children, happen to be falling into more traditional routes. But where tradwife content someday will veer farther off, I will remain fast where I am, happy and content, because my values haven't changed. And that's the most important thing we need to be talking to women about. Don't seek tradwife. Don't seek girl boss. Don't seek OnlyFans model. Seek your values, find them, plant yourself in them, and build a lifestyle that allows you to live in them. And then you'll be happy.